Let's just be a little bit slower. So the problem is when I run this, that this is failing in suite assert equals, but it's actually not that one. Oh, I think it's suite assert const equals. So I'm going to change that just to make sure that's where it is. I'm going to go to the release compiler because this is fucking slow. All right. Suite assert const equals. That's right. So I don't know. Something is happening with this polymorphism. Some type is not coming out, right? So t is whatever. Well, before I start editing this, back up the old thing. I'm just going to start spewing information. T is whatever. And I'm also going to I'm going to make sure that these, I assume it's just like some kind of signed versus unsigned, but let me just see what the hell is happening. Expected FF cafe but got FF cafe ba. So it's doing, what's happening is these are 32-bit numbers. And the comparison, the constexpr comparison, not the live code generated comparison, but the constexpr comparison is wrong. It's comparing them as 64 bits, and the problem is that, you know, the upper bits of one are probably set, and the upper bits of the other are not set, or something. So if I go back to, no wait, where is it? It's in here. You know, it's basically taking Cafe Babe and shifting it. Yeah. So basically, this is where it's dying, and suite assert const equals says if value is equal to expected, right? Because, you know, this is in a static if, this is being totally evaluated as a constexpr. Now in suite assert, there is no suite assert equals, it's just suite assert const equals. All right. So if we go into constexpr.cpp, here's where we do is equal or is not equal. This looks suspicious. Well, I believe we'll be here. I'm just going to say, oh God, this is going to be such a pain in the ass if I can't get rid of all those other files. What the? tests. I've got so many files flying around. So Abner, why can't I just do this? Like, why is it having a cow all of a sudden? Undeclared identifier visit files. What are you even talking about? That's so weird. Is that a bug? Looks like a bug. Line 36 of main. It's a totally different place. Okay, whatever. Okay, that'll be much better. So test binary operations. Suite assert equals. So this is probably due to some namespace related fun like we will talk about when we talk about libraries. I'm not going to worry about it right now. Yeah, so Abner, if you see what I just did, I don't know why this fixed the problem, but importing file utilities into main fixed the problem. Even though file utilities is imported into tests as well. So I don't know if those are in different workspaces or what's going on. I'm just not that familiar with the program. I don't know why adding that one line should change anything, right? My suspicion is it's got to be a compiler bug of some kind. But I can't really imagine what it would be to make this happen. So let me know if that's a compiler bug and file it on me if it is. But I'm gonna try to fix this other problem first. So we were back here. We were doing constexpr equals in C++. And so I believe we're here, but to verify that, I'm going to say interp report info op constexpr first case at this location. Right? So then we're just going to put that in the compiler. There we go. So we have a lot of constexprs equals, but look, they're all at that value is equal to expected. It's happening because we're polymorphing this routine every single time for every value that we're passing in, which is why we're getting this same line a zillion times. It's because we're compiling that routine a zillion times. So in suite, that should be at line 247. Yes, it is. All right, so this is exactly as we want. So we call literals match for constexpr. And we're going to say whoops. So this is a little bit funny because these are literals, which there's some conversions between things happening. Probably. Let's see. Okay, so we want to look for the H. there's so many of these. I'm just lost. I'm lost. Look at all this. Okay, hold on. Uh-oh, we're not seeing any HH. Why are these all different? Well, let's narrow down the is equal. Because there might be a lot of not equals in there. So many files flying around. All right, so I'm going to be really gross. So I'm just going to say if the line number is 247 and if the operator is equals. If op line number is equal to 247 and token is equal. So I'm going to narrow down where I'm printing this kind of stuff. Oh, I'm printing the addresses because I'm a dummy. Why am I a dummy? No wonder they were all, I was like, why are these all so different? And why aren't they cafe babes? It's because I was printing the frickin' addresses. All right. So all of these should be equal because we're assert equaling. In fact, I could just say if we return false, there we go. So these are supposed to be, so the literal that we use to store things is 64-bit. So if something is smaller than 64-bit and we make a literal out of it, then we're supposed to do the appropriate thing, and we're not. So like cut off the upper bits. Or no, or not, or we're supposed to sign extend it. I bet this is not getting sign extended because it's not solidified. So it's B that's wrong. It's B that's wrong. All right, so I'm just going to say so I'm only going to report the ones that mismatch, at least one of which will be the one that we're asserting on, but they're all wrong. Okay, so we got 2. Or no, 1, it's just happening in both workspaces. But it's complaining about GG for some reason. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so we're going to say S is equal to whatever. These are the serial numbers between these things. And of course, last time I ran the test suite, I wasn't getting totally consistent serial numbers, which is, again, when there's threading and stuff, and like multiple workspaces, it's maybe not the best. Let's just see if we get, whoops. Got to remember those. All right, so I think B is the one that's wrong. So that's this S, B55. Let's see if that happens again. B54, god damn it. I don't know what it is about, Abner, if you know of any non-reproducibility in the test framework, like if it's doing something based on a random number or something, then we should chill that out, because it makes it harder to deal with this kind of thing, because now I don't know which guy to look for. Like this time it's 5.5 again. Whoops. If it's always 5.5 or 5.4, then I can, okay, it's usually 5.5. All right, so what? So I'm going to say conditions. I didn't get the. So we're going to hope that's the same under the debugger. Oh, we're not even totally running the same program. That was a different bug that is not on my plate right now. Oh, someone is spamming. Banned, bro. Wait, why can't I ban him? Did he already get banned? I guess he already got banned. I don't know what's going on. Maybe the user is no longer exists. Yeah, user no longer exists. Oh, I see. So if any of the test files included it, then it survived. But that one test file that I was using didn't include it. Okay. Yep. This is a thing. So when the new library namespace kind of work gets done, then maybe we just put each program in its own namespace, and this kind of thing doesn't happen anyway, maybe. I don't know. All right. Copy literal. We're cloning another literal. Damn it, I need to do all this all over again. Old literal. Integer value 8. What? All right, this is the wrong literal. No. Ah, dude, this is killing me. Okay, we have a totally different serial number here running under the debugger. Which it really shouldn't be. I might have to pinpoint it down in some other way. Yeah, so when I'm trying to debug things, um, there's a per workspace serial number that gets incremented every time we allocate a node in the syntax tree. Because there's ASLR and all this stuff, that's how you get reproducibility. So I can set a breakpoint like, oh, this is the identifier for this one literal that's coming out wrong. Let me look at where that's generated so I can figure out what the problem is. Now, for some reason, with the test framework, those numbers do not come out the same all the time. You wouldn't expect them to come out the same if you're running with threads, but even when I run with -no jobs, they don't come out the same all the time, which is weird. Programs like Sokoban do come out the same. So either there's some kind of indeterminacy in the compiler and the test framework is happening to hit it, in which case we should fix that. Or the test framework itself is doing something kind of random, like it's using a random number to determine what to do, or it's using an uninitialized variable to determine what to do, and so it's different sometimes. I don't know. One of those two things is happening, though, and we should definitely fix it because it makes it a lot harder to debug these things. You can't just disable ASLR and linker options. It's not that simple. Everybody says that. It's not that simple. Oh, right. If Windows, for some reason, gave you the files in the opposite order, that would do it. Although I don't think so. Like, I think that uses find first file, find next file. But that's going to be different across operating systems, right? At least, and possibly in the order in which they were written or something. So I would recommend just sorting them. It's just an extra 2 lines of code or whatever to sort them by name, and so that way they'll come out the same everywhere, provided it's the same set of files. Okay, is this a literal? It's a literal, and we're copying a literal. With integer value -10. This is not what I'm looking for. Where did this come from? See, this is a pain in the ass right here. Or maybe it is. Maybe it's also... Oh, it's in added strings. Maybe I should just make the test framework not do the added strings thing. How do I do that? Because that could change between runs also. This is much more of a pain in the ass. This should have been done in 30 seconds. I'm getting annoyed at this point. This is like when programming is not good, is when you can't get the information that you want. Like, I just want to know where the fuck does this literal come from? And so far we've built this system internally for our own use so that usually you can tell that kind of thing. But when that breaks down, then high productivity grinds to a halt, which is not good. And it becomes much more like what most systems are like. So, I mean, I could do it by line number and turn off the added strings thing. No, but so I don't care about where my code addresses are when we're talking about ASLR. I care about when I run malloc, I want the addresses to be exactly the same every time, right? Which depends on every single thing, all the libraries, and your executable and everything. Like the memory mapping needs to be the same between runs, and there's a lot of things happening in Windows to prevent that. Last I checked, I don't know, maybe it's different now. I mean, have you tried under Windows 10? Because, yeah. All right. What should I do here? This is pissing me off. Although maybe this literal is going to be wrong, right? Although I don't think so, because results results integer value is going to be sign extended to 64 bits. So this is not probably the literal that I'm looking for. Oh, 6B57. And this is 6B3D. Yeah, so I can't, something is coming out so different every time that I just can't do this. So let me first of all turn off the added strings thing. If I can even do that. I don't know. Would that be in tests? Where do I make it not do the added strings thing? I don't see, it looks like it's only creating one workspace. I don't get it. I don't get it. No, because I don't care just about what malloc returns being the same address, although that helps. I want every memory address in the entire program to be the same after every run. Every memory address, which used to be how things were, and then the security people screwed it all up and made it hard. For some reason, I can't just like flip a bit on Windows to say, make that happen again like it worked in the 1990s. All right. I mean, I've tried. People say there's such a thing that you can set, and I try it and it doesn't work, so. Yeah. But, and that wouldn't even matter in this case, because in this case, our behavior is not the same between runs, and it's making it hard to debug. What the fuck? Where the... I guess I'll just look at this. All right. I don't understand what code is doing this. I think Abner left or something. He's not telling me. I want to be looking here again. All right. So I'm generating these literals. I'm not going to try. So normally this is the way that I would debug something. It's failing miserably right now, and it's just wasting time trying to do it that way. So instead, I'm just going to look at the code that does this and figure out what's wrong. So now, the thing on the left is right. The thing on the right is not right. Oh, you know what? You know what it is? Okay, it's not the equals that's wrong, it's the cast. So here, it's the cast, it's the implicit cast. Okay, so if we go to here, right, this is what we're doing. If I said here, assert that these things are equal, that would still involve a cast. All right, that's what I'm going to look for, though. So if there's a cast, if it's a literal, number to number, number to number, so we said that Type is supposed to be S32, right? Yes. I'm gonna put that, and what I want to see is a non-sign extended. What happened to my release compile? Oh, well. No, it's not being cast. That's weird. How about this? Assert number integer value ff cafeba. Right? So if this code path is generating that value, we'll assert. It's not. It's not the cast. It's not the cast. Let's try that. We're just going to keep going until we hit an assert, and then we'll see where it came from. That didn't work. Let's check the is equals. This is some real professional debugging right here. There we go. Okay. Great. Now it doesn't matter what order we do these things in. I should have done this half an hour ago. Let's get rid of this breakpoint that's making things slow. Okay. All right. Well, where did this come from? Op arrow right is a literal. It's not substituted. Okay. This isn't the one that's wrong, it's the other one. It's the other one. Or, yeah, it's the other one. So let's look at number flags. Or maybe the comparison. And the question is, should it be the policy that the bits in the literal are masked in a certain way? Okay, here's what's going on. I think they're both right in their own individual contexts. So what's going on is this, I mean, me as a human, I read that and say, sure, that's a negative number, but actually it's just a literal of unknown size, right? Whether that should be sign extended or not depends on how you're thinking about it. HH as well. Yeah, it's a similar situation. Okay, I just have to fix the constexpr comparison. Should have done this 45 minutes ago. It would have been fine. I thought of it. Didn't do it. I don't know why. It's the right answer. Okay. If should have done that. Whoops. No. Whatever. At some point, if a replace fails often enough, just type it. Assertion false. Let's see where that is. I guess we're not really solidifying. Yeah. Hey, look, it works. Why did I take too long to do that? Not file. All right. Let's build the release compiler. All right. And let's build Sokoban. And Wow, this SSD is getting slow. Well, you missed my last question. So it looks like the framework is like all this stuff is going into the added strings file, and it's compiling that. And I couldn't figure out where it's doing that. I didn't see like a compiler or an add build string or whatever it's called, right? And I couldn't figure out how to toggle that. Like, if there's not a toggle for it, it would be convenient just to be able to turn that off. Because when you want to debug one of these test cases, you know, you just want to be able to isolate one. You want to make one thing happen. It is not bad advice to tell people not to use TLS. Where did we go wrong? What are people talking about? Yeah, there's a registry thing that works for some versions of Windows, but it doesn't really do the right thing anymore. All right, well, that was annoying, but since that is fixed, this is not my most productive day. Since that's fixed, I'm going to do some stuff that Ignacio was talking about, or at least for the next half hour, however much I can get done in that time. He was saying, hey, you ought to be able to put assert inside a struct body, and I believe that. So go to other main. Like sometimes I just start putting stuff into Sokoban. So I've got all this stuff, and I'm going to say assert beta is greater than 0, and it's going to tell me you can't do that on television. Oh, well, first of all, okay, wait, that worked. Huh. So it just doesn't work inside the if. That really didn't work. Holy cow. Oh my God. Okay, one thing at a time. Huh. Oh, that's inside an enum. Okay. Got to do this inside a struct first. It was a struct that he was testing. Attempt to use a directive inside a struct that is only legal at top level. So let's fix that. Okay. So Only legal at top level. Yeah. I'm just going to put this here because an assert is a run directive. Let's see what happens. Compile time, assertion failed. Does that work? That probably won't work. Now it does. Compile time, assertion failed. Compile time, assertion failed. All right. That's pretty good. Are inside structs. See how easy that was compared to the previous thing? That's programming for you. You're precompiling the test files to type check early and get their procedure and declaration names as strings. Oh, I see. So that you know what to call? You should be able to do that from from one build, though. I thought you were doing it like once from files and once from strings just to do it, but you should be able to add all the code and then just not generate main until... So if you look in Sokoban, right, the structure is like this. Oh, you know... Well, let me finish what I was saying. If you look in Sokoban, first... we have this process build events, right? And well, we call Sokoban handle for every message. And when we get compilation phase, all source code that can currently be inferred is inferred. Then I look over all the messages that we got and add build strings and stuff. And like this is where you could generate the string for main or something without doing 2 compilation passes, right? You just say, okay, all that stuff that we did is fine. Now, the one reason why I say, well, maybe it's not that simple is just, I mean, your code that you're loading that's a test might be waiting until that message to do something. And that something might be adding more procedures that you might call. But if the convention is that any of the test procedures that are entry points have to be statically declared in the file, which makes sense to me, then you could just do it this way, and you only need 1 pass. You don't need 2 passes. If that makes sense. You can't do that on television. Anyway, so oh yeah, this is what I'm working on now. Or maybe I should just do what Ignacio wanted to. Let me fix Ignacio's bugs. and then I'll work on some other things. So, it appears that element type is only visible within the if body, not the struct. All right, so that is a bug for sure if that's how it's going. So, T is string, and D is of type T. Oh, I see. Elements is not a vector of sparse vector 2.poly. That's not cool. Let me see how things ended up there. Let me just... Let's not put all this in Sokoban. We're going back to foo. We're going to delete all this make token stuff. Just going to do this. Going to do this. And elements is not a member of sparse vector 2.poly. All right, so all right, so this is the struct. It's got a lot of things. Scope. It's got one member, which is what it should have. And this is a declaration. It's got no identifier. Huh. Oh, you know what? I bet my insertion routine for static if I bet it's just buggy. No. Really? Well, let's figure out what's going on there. So, accept block in line 5. This is some hellishly complicated code now. Not hellishly, but... Let's see what happens. We have no statements. Do we have members and no statements? We have members and no statements. right. So due to very complicated reasons, static if expects everything to be in statements, and then it can process it and put it in. So I have to go back to like parser. No. Who even does that? Add to scope. Well, line number 6. Elements. Okay, it's the right one. So we're saying add statement. It's being added to block statements. But when it's being copied, so when we polymorph this struct, we do a copy on it. And I bet because it's only a data declarations, we're not copying the statements. Right? So copy block from source to dest, if do members, else. No. Do not be on drugs. We must always copy statements. I think. Unless there was some really good reason. I mean, for all I know, there was some really good reason not to copy the statements, and now it's broken. This is a debug compiler that I'm rebuilding. Debug. Redeclaration of elements. That's why. What? Okay, wait. I think we don't do this. Oh, God damn it. Okay, this is going to be non-trivial. Because I don't remember the policy for how things should be stored in a scope has changed a bunch of times. And, yeah. Okay, this actually I think can go but I don't want to remove it while all these other things are unstable. When I yield inside the compiler, is that doing set jump and long jump or something completely different? It is just returning from the procedure. It is returning false. That's all it's doing. We're not long jumping. Long jumping is not cool. All right. So the thing is, if you were in a data scope, like structs, for example, didn't used to have statements. Now they do, because in that last demo, for example, you can have assignment statements to the members of the struct. And now I just earlier, said, hey, you can assert. And static if is a statement as well. So if you're polymorphing a struct, you need to copy that stuff. Now the thing is, what does add statement do? If it's a declaration, it does checked add to scope. That looks right to me. The only thing is if we're expecting there to be some correspondent. Let me just see where it's failing. There's obviously some other assumption. People are like crashing their cars outside. Wait, what? Oh, save. Okay. When we polymorph the struct, the arguments block. Right, okay, arguments, okay. For some reason I tunnel visioned we don't always just do the statements. For data scopes and imperative scopes, we do the statements, but that's not all the kinds, right? So for those two, wait. Yeah, for these two, we do the statements, otherwise we do the members. Still gonna have a problem because fucking let's look again. We probably have still the same thing, but maybe for a different reason now. That often happens. Scope, members, 0, statements, 1. Now we have the opposite problem. Wait, what? Wait, it's one statement is a static if. Has it not been evaluated yet? It hasn't been evaluated yet. Okay, now it's a totally different problem. Actually, maybe it was a totally different problem before. Hell if I know. Like, that was wrong to not copy the statements, but maybe it's a different problem anyway. Okay. Let's see if frickin' Sokoban compiles with us copying the statements like that. Like, and if tests compile. It does. That's good. I'm happy about that, because that could have been a disaster. And then actually, it's this part. Okay, so I'm going to make that note. Okay. So that is an improvement. It doesn't solve the problem that we're trying to solve. And the problem is the static if. The struct is basically not waiting on the static if to be done. In add to scope. When we add a declaration, that's weird. It looks like we should have a dependency, but let me check that the dependency is there. Probably ain't. Or let me check that the static if. All right. The struct, once again, we wouldn't be trying to dereference it, hopefully, if it hadn't passed the right stage of compilation. So now the static if, it is also queued. Well, it passed as well. What? Oh, wait, no, that's the struct again. I'm smoking something. Statements. Data. I'm going to do this in a repeat. Fucking. Why does everyone have to have a terrible text selection widgets that don't work right? It's. How many versions of Visual Studio have there been? All right. So this has not been evaluated, and so we would expect it to be. Oh, it's not queued. What? That's crazy. Oh, because the polymorph. Or the copy, sorry, the copy. Yeah. When we polymorph the guy and copy the block, yep, all right. This is a temporary hack that we're going to have to clean up later. So in parser, when we make a static if, see, we parse this directive. And we queue it right there. We do not do that in the copier, I don't think. I don't know if it's a good idea to do that right there. But whatever. What is it called? Is it called dest define start dest, not result. Dest. I am your dest. All right. That's fair. So now the static if is trying to run the cloned one, and it's not finding itself in the members, which we already said was not happening, right? So in order to run that static if, and if we're inserting into a struct, you need to insert things in the order in which they're declared so that the memory is well defined. Someone is saying, would it be fair to say that a lot of the bugs end up being related to polymorphism? Not really, no. By far the highest number of bugs is just the compilation model where we compile out of order. Like, I'm always trying to redesign that and make it simpler. That's where most of these bugs come from. That bug that I just fixed about queuing the thing, I mean, yes, it wasn't queued because we copied it, because it came from polymorphism, but that's not the only time that things get copied, and the real problem is that it wasn't queued, which is the out of order compilation, right? So that's the biggie. Like, a half of the time that I put into this compiler is dealing with out of order compilation issues. Something like that. All right. So if I look in target scope, probably there's one statement and no members, right? So when I said add statement, right? If it's a declaration, so if I put it here, where does this happen for things that are parsed normally? I should have a declaration field set. Oh, declaration if within data scope has been evaluated false. Okay, that's bad news. Oh. Yeah, okay. All right. what's going on here is when things come in from the parser, we're doing special things that are not happening elsewhere. And so we need to simplify that. Of course, now I don't remember where this is happening. Of course, occurrences of static if are going to be all over the place. Oh, here we go. Here we say, oh, if it's a data declarations, make a declaration and put it in members, right? It's not good to do weird stuff like that in the parser, because if it gets copied by polymorphism, for example, or if the user submits a syntax tree that has a static if in it, which is something that we haven't tested yet, and you know we haven't because it's broken. Right, under those conditions, this doesn't happen. Right, so or you factor it and make sure it happens in both places, which is, I think, what I'm going to do. We can take it out. The first step is factor it and make it happen from everywhere. And then, if we find a good place, just a good way to simplify it, it can leave here. So maybe make static if declaration. Okay. I gotta have the interp. Put this here. Oh, I gotta pass the interp argument in parser. Builds. So this is still going to have the same problem because I didn't change anything. I'm just making sure it compiles. Maybe, not maybe, maybe. It's maybe make. Maybe, maybe. Will there be a document describing the architecture of the compiler? No, probably not. It's going to get rewritten later in the new language anyway, but not for a long time. Okay, that's fine. That's what we expected because we didn't actually make this happen from the other place yet. So okay, this queuing should only happen if I mean, really, this if could be around both of these, but we might change that. All right. Hey, it works. Right, what was that supposed to do? Just make sure elements was there. All right. Let's put it 2 levels in. Hey, it still works. All right. Fix Ignacio's elements problem just in time to go dancing. Let me send mail to Ignacio. Compose Ignacio, CCing compiler guys. Subject, fixes are in. First fix, assert works in structs now. I had weird dependency problems when using it inside enums. When asserting on the enum values, that is on my list to look at. Other fix, the problem you had with struct members not seeming to be put in the right place by static if. That was not actually the problem. Instead, the problem was that the struct was polymorphic. So, and the copying routine did not correctly handle if. Copying routine engaged to make, which is engaged to make new structs, did not correctly handle if. I tried the simple sparse vector 2 snippet you sent, and it compiles now. Not to say there won't be more problems, but we send. All right. It feels good when you have someone using your thing and then you're like, I'm being responsive to your problem or suggestion or whatever. Am I planning to do another demo soon? Curious to see the telemetry run of the compiler. I don't know. Tomorrow is the chat about libraries. And I don't know, if we do something else, it'll be next week, probably, or over the weekend. I don't know. Or no, not tomorrow. Friday is a chat about libraries. Tomorrow's Thursday. Is there a clear distinction between the syntax tree representing what grammar terms were matched and the semantic tree representing types, declaration references, etc.? I assume they would be totally different types of things. No, they're the same. So, in fact, there's not a clear distinction at all. There is one thing. There's one tree, and the nodes have type information on them. Because if you're a user, I mean, that's also the way it is internally to the compiler. But if you're a user, you don't want to have to correlate information all the time. You just want to know what type is this thing, right? That means, though, that there shouldn't be a lot of desugaring and stuff, which there isn't. So, there you go. I was wrong when I said it was tomorrow. Okay, I think that may be it, folks. Thanks for coming by to my quick stream in which I got done most of the things that I wanted. I mean, I got done all the things that I set out to do, even though the first one took annoyingly long. However, in doing that stuff, I got this minor custodian thing to do, but then this thing which could be more serious. It could be serious enough that I'm not going to attempt to do it right now. But maybe next stream, or maybe I'll do it off stream. I don't know. I don't know, folks. Oh, the other Ignacio suggestion was assert to take strings, which is, of course, a totally good suggestion. And I will do that, just not right now. See you guys later.